Greetings. I'm so happy you decided to come to this workshop. Mistaken, challenging behaviors. Children are not BAD. My name is April White Bramble. I am an early childhood education instructor at Perry Career Academy, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to this presentation. The purpose for this presentation is quite simple. A lot of my students in the early childhood pathway have decided to not go back to their internships after dealing with some challenging behaviors with their students. So this presentation helps me in my classroom with classroom guidance and guiding behaviors with children. So I hope you enjoy it. So the Walmart game. So before we start any presentation, I always do an icebreaker with my students. This is a way of getting the camaraderie built up in the classroom. It's a great morale booster, and it's also great for quick responses. So I explained to my students that the reason we're playing this game is to keep you on your toes. When you're working with students, you have to be quick on your feet. You have to think responsively without a hesitation. So the Walmart game is a great game for that. The students stand in two lines, parallel lines, and they have to tell me something that starts with the particular letter that you can buy at Walmart. So for instance, you have 20 students, 10 in one line, 10 in another line. They're parallel. The first two students face each other and you give them a letter. Say the letter is R. And they have to tell you something that starts with an R that you find in Walmart. So they may say rice or rabbit food or radishes. If they say rabbit, of course they're out. Or if they hesitate, they're out. So it's a process of elimination. And that student that is successful goes to the back of the line and they keep playing until they're out. The winner, I usually give some extra credit and I just keep reinforcing that this is a great game for quick response. So the Walmart game. If you have any other questions about the game or how it's played, you can definitely send me an email and I'll send you the directions narratively. Children are not goats, or are they? Why do we call children kids? We have so many stores that have the word kid in it. Kid Zone, Kids R Us, and we adopt this as a name to call children. In my classroom, I tell my students they're not allowed to use this word, and they say to me, well, they act like goats, they eat everything, they're stubborn, and I tell them that even though that might be the case, they have to remember that every behavior has a goal and that children are not goats. We don't want to use that word, it's not professional, and we need to refer to the children as that, children, or students, not as goats. Even though they may take on some of those characteristics, they're not animals, they're children. So, what are your thoughts on the word BAD? Is that such a thing? Are children considered bad? Because bad, in my definition, or in the Webster's definition, is something that is not good, something that is evil, and we don't want to call children that. So, I'm going to show you this video. It has gone viral. It's about a 3-year-old named Mateo. So, I really want to get your thoughts on this video and what do you think about, is he bad or just inappropriate? So after watching that video about Mateo, we're going to lead into misbehaviors. Misbehaviors, as you see, implies willful wrongdoing for which a child must be disciplined or punished. Children can internalize the negative label of the behavior and will start to feel negative about themselves. I tell my students all the time, if you call a child bad or mischievous and they keep hearing you say those words, then they will take on those characteristics. I'll show you how bad I can be. I'll show you how fast I can be. I'll show you how grown up I can be. So we really have to watch the words that we put into children. What are we sowing to these children? What are we saying? Discipline, punishment. I mean, those are pretty strong words when you think about children. Self-discipline is what we want children to have, but we don't want to be the one to discipline or punish them, rather guide them. So please watch the negative labels. Mistaken behaviors remind us that children are just at the beginning of a lifelong learning process, which means they're in the process of learning that we all make mistakes. When we make a mistake, what happens? Someone comes and corrects us. Someone kind of guides us. Someone they give us a pass on that particular thing because it was just a mistake. You have to think in your mind, and I tell students all the time that children are learning us just as we're learning them. And so children will try different things to see just how far they can go. It's a cause and effect. They're just at the beginning of their lifelong process. They've been on this earth for 2, 3, or 4 years. And we know a little bit more than they do. But again, it's a learning process. And they're like sponges. They soak up everything. So if we guide them properly, they will learn the correct behaviors. What are the key considerations in understanding the concept of mistaken behavior? One, it can be and often is done on purpose. That's one of the key considerations in understanding the concept of mistaken behaviors. Young children make errors in judgment and act on the basis of feelings. Aggression can be at any level of mistaken behavior. It can be expressed directly or indirectly. It can be used as a strategy or reactive. And the goal is to enable them to grow towards mental health. So again, every behavior is on purpose. It can be and often is on purpose. Let's look at misbehavior versus mistaken behavior. What is the difference? Misbehavior makes us think of punishing. Misbehavior makes us think about morally labeling the child. Our goal, however, should be to teach the child appropriate ways to behave. Mistaken behaviors makes us think of educating and guiding. So if we look at it as a mistaken behavior versus the child just misbehaving, it allows us to look at it a little differently. We need to remember that the child is in development, not a finished product. The process of learning and development are complex. It's difficult to learn different concepts. The world is a confusing place, and children need our guidance and our help. Through methods and curriculum, educators need to accommodate the development and experimental circumstances of each child. Guiding behavior is a big part of every teacher's job. So we have to individualize our direction with children. It's not a cookie cutter method. We can't just say that this is the way that we're going to react to children in our classroom without thinking about the environment that they're coming from. What is it like at home? Did they eat a good meal? Are they feeling like they are part of the class? Are they feeling confused about something? Again, they're in the process of developing, they're in the process of learning. So, what methods are we going to use? What curriculum are we going to use? How are we going to accommodate each individual child to make sure that we're meeting them where they are versus punishing, disciplining, yelling, and screaming at the child? Guiding behavior is a big part of our job. It's a huge part. So if we can guide behaviors and make the classroom an enjoyable, safe, healthy learning environment, then children will learn. So many times teachers look at me against you. We have to get out of our heads that children are bad. Children are innately good. They have a lot to learn. They're naive. They have a small amount of experience to draw upon. They want to please us. They want to be accepted. They want to be approved and loved. So, how do we let them know that I'm not against you? I'm on your side. I'm here to support you. So, comprehensive guidance strategies. Before we react, a lot of times teachers react without getting all the information. We want to make sure we get all the information. What was actually going on? We want to build relationships with children. We want to use their name. We want to call their name. We want to meet their parents and their siblings and know a little bit about the child. We want to also make sure that we're preventing problems ahead of time. If we know that a child is having some attention problems, we wouldn't sit the child in the back of the room. If we know that a child has disagreements with a particular child, why would we sit that child next to that child in the classroom? So some things can be prevented ahead of time. Instead of us being reactive, we need to be proactive as teachers. We want to intervene in non-punitive ways. So anytime that we're interjecting, it should be like a facilitation or coaching. Well, how do you think he felt about that? What could we do better? What could we have done? Let's talk about this. How can I help in this situation? Instead of pointing the finger, blaming the child. And lastly, teach children alternatives. When you get upset and you want to scream, let's go outside and scream, scream, scream. If you want to kick something, let's kick a ball. If you want to punch something, we have our little punching bag over in the corner when you need to cool down. So we need to have alternatives for children to help them cope. Just like adults have coping methods, children need coping methods as well. So let's practice some of these things that we've talked about. Here we have Inez and Hector who were quarreling over who would use a car on the block road they had built. The teacher went to the children and declared, "You children don't know how to share the car properly, so I will put it away." As the teacher walked off with the car, Inez sat down at the table and looked sad. Hector frowned at the teacher's back and made a fist. When you look at this scenario, I want you to put in the comments below, what would you do in this situation? When we think about mistaken behaviors, we have to first understand how the parent sees the child. We need to understand that first and foremost. We also need to look at what messages or what message are caregivers or parents sending to their children daily. So I have a video that I want you to look at to see what was ingrained in this particular child on a daily basis. One thing that I want you to look at is that this was a caregiver, not a parent, but they were acting in that role. So they were putting these affirmations into this child daily. I also want you to look at and think about, what about those parents that put negative affirmations versus positive affirmations into their child daily? And then they're coming to school, working with teachers who are giving them one message, but the parent is feeding an entirely different message into them daily. How do you combat that? What do you do? The one thing I'm going to say is that you're consistent with your positive affirmations for the students. Here's the video. Just write in the comment below what you think. So one thing I want to say about that video, that was a clip from The Help, is that she never told her she was beautiful. So in the movie, if you've ever watched a movie, that's one of the things that she never told her. So we have to be careful about what we're saying to children. Now, what are parents showing their children? You've heard the old adage, monkey see, monkey do. Children see us and they model after us. So here's a video that you can show your students about parents and what they see.
It looks like rain again today. Dark clouds gather and fill the sky. Don't know how to talk to you, just know how to say goodbye.
Have you actually got a driver's license?
Go back where you came from. Learn to speak English.
Go back where you came from.
Is that what you think?
Wasn't that powerful? You can see whatever negativity the parent was giving off, the child was exhibiting. Whatever positivity the parent was giving off, the student was modeling that. So it's really important that we model correct behaviors. And that's something that in parent workshops, we can, show parents and kind of show them what happens. Now, why do children misbehave? A misbehaving child is a discouraged child. Why? Please write in the comments what you think about why children misbehave. And we're going to watch a quick clip about 8 toxic things parents say to children. 8 toxic things parents say to children. When we think about these toxic things that are said, and children have to come to school and be expected to maneuver in a positive way, is kind of hard when you have someone in your ear constantly telling you negative things. You're never going to be this. You're never going to amount to this. You're nothing like your sister. You're nothing like your brother. You're lazy. You're worthless. And so this child is hearing this. And we wonder as teachers why a child is misbehaving. We wonder why the child is behaving the way they're behaving, but we have to think about, what is the home life like? What are they getting from siblings, parents, or caregivers? Watch this clip and let me know what you think.
Psych2Go is a digital media organization that raises mental health awareness by presenting psychological topics in a digestible and relatable manner. Please share our content with those who need it. Children should always expect from their parents love and care. But what if the parents are toxic? How would you feel if I told you that in 2008, the Administration of Children and Families in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported that more than 50,000 children were officially counted as victims of emotional abuse? Whether hurtful words are intended to cause pain or not, they can leave marks and memories from a short time to a lifetime. Hurtful remarks can come from loved ones, such as parents, and the psychological and emotional damage can be detrimental to a lot of people, especially their children. The way parents raise their children and behave around them sets up the basic ground which builds their personality and self-esteem. So, how do you know if a parent or caretaker is toxic? Here are 8 things toxic parents say that can affect a child's life. 1. Offensive words towards their appearance. You're ugly, too fat, too short, or too skinny, or you have ugly hair. Degrading a child based on their appearance will likely only increase their physical insecurity and worry about their body image. This could lead to serious emotional issues, such as eating disorders. Parents are supposed to teach their children how to love themselves no matter how they look on the outside. 2. Provocative questions towards actions, like, why do you act so weird? Why do you walk that way, chew that way, move or talk that way? Children tend to believe anything their parents say, so sarcastic questions or remarks like these may make the child feel like there's something wrong with them. This makes it very hard for the child to be themselves around people, even during their adulthood. And they may then be trapped by the discomfort and fear that others may laugh at them or notice the flaws that their toxic parents made up for them. 3. Selfish wishes. I wish you were never born. I wish I had an abortion. I regret having you. I wish you were a different child. Parents should never say something like this to a child. It'll make them feel like they weren't supposed to exist in this world in the first place, and that they don't deserve to be alive. These remarks are so harmful to a child, and to a human in general. They diminish their whole sense of identity, which can lead to self-harm and early depression. Instead, parents should make them feel loved and valued. 4. Making the child feel like a burden. You cost me too much money. It's so hard to take care of you. Having you exhausts me. If a parent says this to their child, the child will feel like a burden. It'll cause them to unconsciously hide their needs, feelings, and problems just to avoid the wrath of the parent. Considering that, NEMRS, a nonprofit children's healthcare system, reported that lack of love and affection or materialistic things are some of the causes for some children to lean on stealing and being abusive. 5. Unhealthy comparisons. Why aren't you like your sibling, cousin, or the other kids? The other kids are better than you. This will reduce a child's self-esteem substantially and makes them think that they'll never be good enough, no matter how hard they try. Also, comparing siblings with one another only promotes an unhealthy relationship between them. This will cause them to feel jealousy and resentment towards each other. Siblings should be equally given the right to build their own independent identities. 6. Verbally abusive words or statements. You're stupid, useless, you're a loser, or you'll never make it. Absolute remarks like this will damage the child's self-esteem. It's important that parents encourage their children into believing in themselves. 7. Threatening abandonment. I'll leave you. I'll put you aside. You'll wake up and never find me. I'll just disappear. This will cause the child to have abandonment issues. fearing that people they love will leave them because of who they are. When a child grows up, this belief will be unconsciously ingrained in their mind. They'll be unable to trust future relationships for fear of them leaving. And 8, empty promises. If you do this, I'll buy you that, or I'll take you there next time. But then they don't do it. When a parent makes promises that they don't keep, it breaks the child's trust. It makes the child feel betrayed. Making fake promises is an excellent way to teach a child how not to trust others in life. To conclude, even though words aren't physically harmful, they can be extremely harmful to the psyche and emotional well-being. Childhood is an essential chapter in every human's life. Our childhood builds our personalities, behaviors, and beliefs. Have you experienced any of these forms of abuse? How do you feel about them? Do you know someone who has and could benefit from watching this video? Please consider sharing this video to reach worldwide attention so parents or future parents can also be more mindful about how they talk to their children. If you care about our mission, please don't forget to subscribe to Psych2Go for more of our psychology content. And as always, thanks for watching.
I hope you wrote in the comments below what you thought about that video. Let's look at misbehavior. Misbehavior. It's based on a child's mistaken interpretation of how to find belonging and significance. That is the behavior they're interpreting. They want to feel like they belong. They want to be significant. So sometimes they quote unquote misbehave or do things that are against what we typically will like a child to do in the classroom. They may do certain things to get attention. They may do certain things to be noticed because they want to feel like they belong. You ever heard a child say, well, you didn't do that for me, or you didn't do that when I got an A on my report, or you didn't do that when I wore my new dress. So we have to really be careful to make sure that each child is feeling like they belong. And sometimes, honestly, no matter how much you do it, the child may still feel that way because it's not really about you in the classroom. It may be about what's going on at home. The 4 goals of mistaken behavior. So this gets down to basically why children behave the way they behave. First, they want attention. Second, they may want power. They want to be in control. Third, they want revenge. They're feeling upset about something, so they feel like they need to get back at whoever is doing that particular thing to them. And fourth, they just give up. They feel inadequate about themselves. So these are the goals of mistaken behaviors. Again, this is why children may do things to seek attention, to seek power, revenge, or just give up. And that's why they do these behaviors. So the most common reason for misbehavior is attention. Children want attention from their parents. Children want attention from caregivers or the teacher or whoever they can get attention from. That may stem from various experiences at home. It can stem from their birth order, which is a great segue into this particular subject when we're dealing with misbehaviors. We talk about birth order in our classroom. And we talk about the oldest, the youngest, the middle, and the various characteristics that may come from those birth orders. One of the things that we also talk about is temperament and dealing with the birth orders and why children behave the way they behave. So, again, the most important thing to remember is that the most common reason for misbehavior is attention. And I tell students the way to combat that is to make sure you're calling those students names, not just the ones that are always doing mistaken behaviors, but even students that are following directions. We want to also make sure that we're spending special time in the classroom with the children each day. So the next slides talk about solutions to attention problems, solutions to power problems, solutions to revenge problems, and a variety of other problems that may occur in the classroom. And the most important thing to remember is that every behavior has a goal. The child is exhibiting this behavior for a reason. And it's the teacher's responsibility, the educator's responsibility, the parent's responsibility to figure out what the child is asking for. What is the child needing? And then we employ those strategies. 4 steps for winning cooperation. We want to make sure that we let the child know that we are on their side. We also want to make sure that we understand that children are not bad. They are innately good. And that if we listen to them and they feel listened to, they will respond. So the next slides are pretty self-explanatory. You want to review with your students about natural and logical consequences. Natural consequences, of course, are things that just simply happen naturally. If you don't have a coat, you're going to be cold. If you waste your milk, you're not going to have any more milk. Illogical consequences are things that are decided upon and imposed by parents or teachers. So if you don't have a coat and it's cold outside, you cannot go outside. If you spill your milk and you want more milk, that's not going to happen because I ask you not to play with your milk, to use both hands, so I'm not pouring you another glass of milk. Those are logical consequences. Not you were talking during, nap time, so you're not going outside for recess. The natural consequence of that is that you're going to be sleepy. So just look at some of these examples of the characteristics, I should say, of logical consequences. Firm, calm, and positive toward the child. Next, we want to talk about the 3 R's of logical consequences. They should be related, respectful, and reasonable. So there's a big misconception about timeout. I mean, timeout to me can be a positive thing. Some people use it as a negative thing, but have the child consider timeout as a mental break. It gives the child time to calm down, time to think about the correct way to act. The child has moved away from others as an effective consequence. So only use it if the child is out of control, hurting others, or destroying things. Any other time you want to just redirect their behavior instead of putting them in timeout. It's only used if they really need to just calm down and get their thoughts together. And when they're ready, you ask, "Hey, are you ready to come back?" And the child will let you know. One thing you want to do when dealing with classroom discipline or expectations or guidance is to have the rules or expectations and remind them often of those behaviors that they should be exhibiting in the classroom. And also read Children Want Fences with your high school students. So I've added for you Children Want Fences. And basically, this is a good narrative that you can share with your students to let them know why children need fences. So comment below after you read it and let me know what you think. Keep rules and expectations short and simple. Be nice to teacher and classmates. Raise hand to speak. Walk in halls. Very simple. We also want to remember that when we're guiding students in the classroom, we want to be silent or whisper. Resist giving attention to disruptors. Someone is disturbing the class. That's giving too much attention to that child in a negative way. Move closer. Place your hand on their shoulder. Involve them. Talk privately. What can I do to help you? And a great introduction to dealing with any type of child abuse and neglect or behaviors is mandated reporting. And this is available free on Pro Solutions. All my students must complete this prior to interning. I also go into the forbidden discipline actions that are listed below. And I remind the students that if it's confirmed that they have participated in any of these incidents, they will be removed from their internship immediately. I want you to always remember that mistakes are wonderful opportunities to learn. Recognize your mistake. Reconcile, I'm sorry, or I apologize. Resolve. Focus on solutions rather than blaming. This is the end of my presentation, and I want to thank you so much for your full cooperation and attention. If you have any questions or comments, you can definitely send me an email or just comment below. Thank you so much. Have a great conference.